What is going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Andrew's Awesome Carcast. I, as always, am Andrew Francis, and let's just roll right on into it. So, continuing my trend of hitting things at their peak, it is now time for my Avengers Endgame review. Yes, I'm reviewing a movie that came out a week ago that I have already seen twice. I should have made this video days ago, but here I am now. So, start off the bat, let me say, there will most likely be a cut in this video, because I'm going to have, on my way home, I'm going to have to stop and run to the store and grab something real quick. And beyond that, this video will also probably be multiple parts, just because Endgame is such a long movie and there's so much to talk about that I will probably run out of battery power, that my camera's going to die. So this will probably be the longest video I've made to date, and you'll probably see a hard cut at the end, and then the next time you see me, I'll probably be wearing something different because I only record these when I'm driving home. So if I'm driving home and I don't finish the video, obviously I have to pick it back up the next day on that drive home from work. So just wanted to get that out of the way anyways. So yeah, getting right into it. This is my review of Avengers Endgame. This will be absolutely spoiler ridden. There will be I'm gonna talk about everything. Movie's been out for a week. Most people have seen it. Anyone who I know who would watch this fucking video will have seen it multiple times by now. So yeah, spoilers galore. Get out now while you can if you want to avoid those. But here we go. Right off the bat, love this movie. Absolutely loved it. This might be my new favorite comic book movie of all time. It has definitely worked its way into my top 10 favorite movies of all time. In terms of comic movies, the only thing that might be better than this is The Dark Knight. And it's not really fair to compare those two because The Dark Knight is grounded in realism. You know, it's the movie of like, what if Batman existed in the real world? Whereas this is, you know, literally, this is the Marvel universe. Like, here it is in front of you. So yeah, but yeah, this movie's amazing. Stem to stern, everything about it. Like, it's 3 hours long, but you don't feel that at all. The pacing is great. It's shot beautifully. I saw it in IMAX. I'm actually recording this right now. It is Thursday, May 2nd. I'll be seeing it again this Saturday in IMAX again. This movie was shot entirely in IMAX. If you have the means and capability to go see it in IMAX, you owe it to yourself to see this movie in IMAX. It is just, every shot is beautiful. Everything. It just fills that giant screen for a whole 3 hours. It's amazing. Sight, sound, everything about this movie is just, I mean, no movie is perfect, don't get me wrong. I'm gonna talk about what's wrong with this movie, but man, it's damn near perfect. It's just a non-stop enjoyment, non-stop fun, non-stop thrills. Okay, so I've been thinking about this because I've read reviews, I've seen videos of people's reaction reviews, and in my mind, or at least what I come up with, is one of the best ways I think to review this movie is to kind of go through it through the eyes of each Avenger, not all of them. I mean each Avenger that's left on Earth after Infinity War. So the original 6, and then also to a certain degree Thanos, and also I'm already going back on what I just said. Also some Nebula in there too, because Nebula is very heavily featured in this movie, way more than I thought she would be. But anyways, getting right into it. So I'm gonna start with Hawkeye. So Hawkeye, for me, was, of the Avengers, he was the weakest storyline of this movie. Now, don't get me wrong, he had some absolutely great hard-hitting emotional moments, like in the moment where they're testing out the time travel and they send Hawkeye back, and you know, like he's walking up his front porch and he's just about to see his daughter, but then, you know, he gets pulled back. It's like, like the reaction of his face, the way Jeremy Renner played that was beautiful. But just his character was kind of the weakest for me, just because he suffered from not being in Infinity War. So they kind of had to rush some things for him, in my personal opinion. So, you know, so we don't see Jeremy Renner in Infinity War, and so he is actually the opening to this movie. We see him before we see, you know, the title Avengers Endgame screen, and it's him. He's at that safe house where I guess it's just his house, where him and his family live, you know, out in the middle of nowhere, really. And he's playing catch with his sons. He's teaching his daughter how to shoot a bow and arrow like him. And, you know, he has this one moment where he looks down at his phone, or he might even just be turning around from talking to his wife, turns back around, and his daughter is gone. She's been snapped, she's been dusted. Turns back around to see the rest of his family, his wife, his sons, everyone's gone. Like, he's the only one left, everyone's been dusted, he has no idea what's going on. And then the next time we see Jeremy Renner he's in, I forget if it's Japan or China, to be honest, but he's in one of those, and it's Black Widows come to find him, and we see he's become, you know, the Ronin, you know, which is a storyline in the comics where basically Hawkeye just kind of loses his shit and just starts killing criminals. So yeah, like, he's become the Ronin. Like, he's dressed up like more ninja-like than he normally is, which is saying something. And he's got a sword, and we just see just a river of bodies he's left. It's like, I believe it's Japan, now that I'm thinking about it, because I believe it's Japanese Yakuza. That he is just, you know, like, he's just took them all out. And we see him, he has like some final little fight with the Yakuza boss, and he kills that dude brutally. And that's when Black Widow shows up, and, you know, like, they kind of have they'll have a little back and forth. How, like, he's like she comes up to him and says, like, oh, we have a chance, you know, we could bring everyone back, your family included. He's like, don't give me hope. And she's like, I only wish I could have given it to you sooner. Great line. But so, like, that evolution for Hawkeye seemed a bit rushed for me, just because, like, so we had to take him from 0 to 60. You know, like, we didn't get him any Infinity War, so, like, we see the family snap, and then just boom, he's in Japan killing people. And even in Endgame, like, they show it is 5 years later. Like, immediately in Endgame, they show, like, one of the first things they show is a couple of people who are left. Not all the Avengers, but they show, like, Captain America, Black Widow, Mark Ruffalo, Hulk, Nebula, Thor. They find Thanos. Captain Marvel as well. They go find Thanos at his, like, retirement farm, and they kill him. They kill him after he tells them that he destroyed the Infinity Stones. He's like, I did it, like, I snapped half the universe out, then I destroyed the stones so my work can never be undone. And then Thor cuts his head off with Stormbreaker. And then so that happened, and then we flash forward 5 years later. It's 5 years after that. So yeah, so Thor cut Thanos' head off like a week or two after the snap. Or maybe a couple months, I don't know. But then it's 5 years later. So they've, like, half the universe has been gone for 5 years. And so within that time period, that's when Hawkeye lost his shit. But we didn't get to see any of that. So previously, like, before, we see Hawkeye as, like, this moral and just character. Like, the first time we ever even see Hawkeye in Thor 1, when Thor is, you know, Thor breaks into that facility to get his hammer back, and Hawkeye has a bead on him, you know, like, he's perched up top, he's got the arrow on him. Even then, like, he's hesitant to shoot the guy just because he's unarmed. Like, Hawkeye doesn't want to, you know, kill an unarmed person. Like, this guy's just, you know, granted he's beating the shit out of people, but it's hand to hand, and he's not killing anybody. So even then, he's hesitant to shoot Thor, and he has, like, this funny line, he's like, hey, Fury, like, are you still want me to kill this guy? Because I'm starting to root for him. And then, you know, like, the next time we see Hawkeye is in Avengers 1, where he gets mind controlled, yeah, but But Black Widow makes these references how like he helped save her. Like Black Widow was going down a dark path in her life, how she was this cold-blooded killer, and Hawkeye saved her. So like we've only known Hawkeye as, like, as I said, like this good moral character. So the jump to Ronin is a little bit of a stretch for me personally. And then also we don't get enough time with it. It's literally just that one scene. He has that one scene of him killing those bosses just so like we can kind of see what he's been up to since his family died. It just felt a little bit unnecessary. It was cool. It was a cool fight scene. And you know, like he pulls it off. We see the cool mohawk hair. Like, yeah, it's cool, but it just kind of felt a bit unnecessary. You know, like that's in a 3-hour long movie, like maybe that's something you could trim to get that time down a little bit. But anyways, so yeah, so Black Widow gets him, he comes back, and then you know they come up with a plan to get the stone, to go back in time, because Thanos destroyed the stones in the present, so they get a plan to go back in time and get the stones, and like they need to test, like so Tony Stark and Ant-Man essentially come up with time travel through the quantum realm. And they need to test it. Hawkeye's like, fuck it, I'll do it. Because, you know, again, he's lost his family. He's got nothing left to lose. He's like, yeah, let's go. And it's in this scene where, in the prep up to that, we see that cool-ass tattoo he's gotten. Like, he now has a full sleeve of, like Japanese samurai-style kind of art. It's a cool-looking thing. But again, a little weird and unnecessary for me personally. And so yeah, like, I just felt Hawkeye's story, I don't know, bit like it felt rushed. It felt rushed. Like because as soon as Black Widow gets him, like everything else becomes just unnecessary. You know, like it never mattered that he had this like dark past, like we didn't know he was doing for 5 years. Like we could have just, I don't know, she could have just found him wherever, or he could have been with them from the beginning. But anyways, so yeah, and so he tests that out, you know, like they get it to work, all that, yada yada yada, and then he's, you know, like he's back to normal. Like after that, after he sees like that the time travel works, like we can do this, like he's just back to normal Hawkeye, and it's like cool. So jumping from Hawkeye over to Black Widow, so then, like I said, like they went in space after all that. So when in the 5 years that had passed while Hawkeye was out killing people, Black Widow kind of became the new S.H.I.E.L.D. director. I mean, S.H.I.E.L.D. no longer exists, but we get this shot of her. She's in Avengers headquarters, and she's got, you know, like the holo screens up, and she's coordinating with Rocket, War Machine, dang it, I can't remember her character name, but Denai from The Walking Dead, Michonne, like she's, you know, Black Panther's like general, who I guess may have been the leader of Wakanda at the time. Maybe her or M'Baku, it's never stated, but I don't know. But anyways, Black Widow's coordinating with her, and like they're keeping the world safe. Like they're like she mentions too, like Denai mentions that there was an earthquake off the coast of Wakanda. Like she's getting a report on that. War Machine was talking about War Machine was helping track down Hawkeye, so he's talking about an incident in Mexico. Rocket was talking about I forget what the fuck Rocket was talking about, to be honest. But yeah, like she's coordinating this. So that gave her kind of a Nick Fury S.H.I.E.L.D. director vibe to me. And then we get Captain America comes in, and she and Cap have that talk about how, like, you know, like, oh, everyone else has moved on, but not us. And she's like, I'm trying, you know. And then that's at the point where Ant-Man comes back. And man, okay, real quick, because now that I've said it, I gotta address this real quick. So in Ant-Man and the Wasp, which is Ant-Man 2, at the end of that movie, they're like, it's Ant-Man, it's Michael Douglas, it's Michelle Pfeiffer, and it's Evangeline Lilly, the Wasp, and they're all doing this quantum realm experiment. And they send Ant-Man into the quantum realm, and the other three are standing out there, and then this is what happens during the snap. So snap happens, everyone outside dies, Ant-Man is alive in the quantum realm. So that's the last time we see Ant-Man up, and he's not in Infinity War, so that's the last time we see him up until Endgame. So, you know, you gotta solve the problem. How do we bring him back? So the way they bring him back is backing up a little bit, that experiment he was doing where he got stuck in the quantum realm. There was like a quantum realm portal, I'll call it. I forget exactly what they call it, in the back of his van. And it's him and all those other people I mentioned are up on a roof. And so they shoot Ant-Man through the portal into the quantum realm, and the other people get snapped out and dusted. They're gone. So Ant-Man is stuck in the quantum realm, and his only way out is through this portal on a van on a random roof in San Francisco. So what do they do to bring him back? So, you know, the 5 years pass, and even though they give you this big establishing shot of, you know, like what the world looks like now, because like I said, half the Earth got snapped out of existence. So, you know, like a lot of shit is just there. Like, you know, like their car, like no one's moving, like cars, people on the road are just in the middle of the road. Boats in the harbor, like they show a shot of the Met Stadium. It's just gone to shit. You know, like because it looks like the exact moment it did when everything got snapped away. But so you mean to tell me they left all that shit there, but the one random ass van on a roof in San Francisco got moved into a parking garage and storage? Okay, sure, why not? But so yeah, so the van gets moved into storage, and it's in this underground storage facility, and so like the portal, the quantum realm portal, is in the back, you know, the back of the van. And the controls for it are all in the dashboard and up front. And the way they decide to bring Ant-Man back out of the quantum realm is a rat walks across the dashboard and just happens to flip the correct combination of switches to activate the portal and bring back Ant-Man. The fuck is that? Like, especially in Ant-Man 1, you've already shown me that Ant-Man knows how to get out of the quantum realm. Because if you remember in Ant-Man 1, he goes into the quantum realm to stop Yellow Jacket. And he's stuck there for a moment, but he figures out a way to get out. And so you would think, armed with that knowledge, you would think they could think of a different way to get Ant-Man out of the quantum realm. But no. Rat. Stupid. Like that's one thing I had a problem with. Like, that was dumb. Like, you could have done so much better with that. So much better. Because essentially, because I've seen this meme going around there, it says like the rat saved the universe. Because if the rat doesn't get Ant-Man out of there, Ant-Man never thinks up, hey, we could try time travel. They never go see Tony. Tony never solves it, and the whole thing never fucking happens. So essentially, a rat saved the Marvel universe. Yeah. Anyways, circling way the fuck back to Black Widow. So yeah, Black Widow and Tony talking about how, like, hey, we moved on to, like, everyone else has moved on except us. We're still looking for a way. And that's when Ant-Man comes in. And Ant-Man's like, hey, you know, like, I just escaped the quantum realm, blah, blah, blah. Getting caught up on what happened in the 5 years while he was gone. So yeah, Ant-Man was trapped in the quantum realm for 5 years. But really, he didn't know it. Time passes differently there anyways. But he pitches the idea to Captain America and Black Widow. It's like, hey, if we can crack time travel, like, we can go back in time and fix this. You know, somehow we can fix this. And so the plan is developed that they're gonna go back in time and steal the Infinity Stones. Like, they're gonna find each stone before Thanos got to it, and, you know, like, take it for themselves and build their own gauntlet and do that. And so, again, just focusing on Black Widow at the moment, even though I've been all over the fucking place. So it's decided within the plan, like, once they get everyone together, they decide who's going to go after what stone. Black Widow and Hawkeye are tasked with going to retrieve the Soul Stone. Now, they don't know beforehand, because the only two people who have gone to, you know, retrieve the Soul Stone are Thanos and Gamora. And, you know, Thanos killed Gamora, so they don't know that there's gonna have to be a sacrifice to get the stone. So they go to get the stone, and, you know, they find the Red Skull just as Thanos did, and the Red Skull explains to me, like, you know, a soul for a soul, there has to be a sacrifice. And so Black Widow and Hawkeye start fighting over who's going to die. Like, Hawkeye wants to sacrifice himself, Black Widow wants to sacrifice herself. And I think, I mean, I get it. I understand why it was Black Widow. Because, like I said, I believe that she, within that 5 years passing, like, she kind of took on the role of Nick Fury, like, as the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. And I think in assuming that role, she assumed more guilt than she already had, if that makes sense. And I'll try and explain that. But by which I mean all the Avengers feel tremendous guilt for having failed. You know, like, they did not stop Thanos. Thanos snapped out half the universe. But, you know, S.H.I.E.L.D. is supposed to be, in addition to the Avengers, S.H.I.E.L.D. is supposed to be something that protects, you know, the Earth from exactly this. You know, that's why it's called S.H.I.E.L.D. Well, it's fucking out. I mean, the word is escaping me. I'm stupid. Whatever. Acronym. But yeah, like, so I believe, like, she sees the organizational failure of S.H.I.E.L.D., who, you know, helped put the Avengers together. I believe she is unnecessarily saddled herself with that extra burden of guilt. Like, I believe she's like, you know, like, we did all this. Like, this was S.H.I.E.L.D. Hang on one second. There is a bus ahead of me that is not fully pulled over and is causing a little bit of havoc, but it's fine. Okay. So, yes, like, I believe that Black Widow, like, I believe she was feeling more guilt than she needed to. And so, don't get me wrong, like, regardless of that, just because of her being a hero, she would have fought Hawkeye to die anyways. But I believe that was an extra driving factor in her story. Whereas Hawkeye, and also, like, another reason I get why it had to be her is because, like, Hawkeye, if this plan works, if the plan to retrieve the stone works and bring everyone back actually goes down, like the planet, Hawkeye gets his family back. So he would have something to look forward to. Whereas, well, not that she wouldn't, but more so than Black Widow, because she is alone in the world, essentially. Like, she was, you know, raised as a child to be an assassin. She's, you know, very few friends, no family, if I remember. So yeah, so, like, I get it makes more sense for her to be the one to sacrifice herself. And so yeah, so she and Hawkeye go to Vormir. They fight. She ends up dying. Hawkeye gets the Soul Stone and the Black Widow. For now, anyways. I do think we might see her again one day, just because I remember at the end of Infinity War, you know, after Thanos snaps everyone out of existence, and we have that one quick little scene where Thanos is he's somewhere in the universe. We don't know where exactly, but he's in, like, it's orange. It's like an orangish yellow. It's like an orangish yellow world, and he sees an infant Gamora. And Gamora talks to him, he's like, did you do it? Like, yes, what it cost you, everything. That's where that scene comes from. And I believe I read something online, an interview with Kevin Feige or the Russos, where they confirmed that is inside the Soul Stone. So the soul of whoever, so I believe the way they're doing it is the soul of whoever sacrifices themselves in order to obtain the Soul Stone is then trapped within the stone itself. So I think there's a possibility in the future that we not only get Black Widow back, but we also get Gamora. But yeah, so that's the end of Black Widow's story. So moving on from her, let's talk a little bit about the Hulk. So, again, backtracking a little bit, because this is the way I'm doing this, I'm gonna have to. So when Mark Ruffalo, Bruce Banner, I'll just go with Bruce Banner from now on. When Bruce Banner goes up to fight Thanos and Thor cuts his head off, he's still in the Hulkbuster armor. He's not the Hulk. Because again, this is right after the events of Infinity War, where if you remember, Thanos whooped the Hulk's ass, and then from then on, the Hulk was afraid to come out. Like, no matter what Bruce Banner would do, the Hulk wouldn't appear. So Bruce Banner used that Hulkbuster armor. So he used that Hulkbuster armor to go up. Thanos gets his head caught by Thor. Move on 5 years later. So then they come up with the plan to, you know, Ant-Man comes out. They come up with the plan like, hey, time heist. Like, let's go back in time, steal the stones before Thanos ever gets them. Blah blah blah. And they need, you know, obviously they need everyone to help with this. And so eventually it comes up, hey, let's go, you know, like, let's go ask Bruce Banner, you know, one of the smartest people alive. And we go and find him, and we see it's the Hulk, but he's speaking like Bruce Banner. Like, normally when we've heard the Hulk talk, it sounds like Banner, but you know, it's more like, ugh, you know, like Hulk smash, puny god, that kind of thing. Where no, this time it's just straight up Bruce Banner. And he's fully clothed. Like, he's got a sweater on and pants. He's wearing glasses like Bruce Banner does. And in speaking to him, we find out that like within that 5 years, like, Bruce Banner really dedicated himself, and he figured out a way to merge himself, like truly merge himself with the Hulk. So like the way he put it too is you get the brain and the brawn. It's like it's Bruce Banner's mind entirely, you know, like in the Hulk's body. Smart Hulk, Professor Hulk. And you have a great little scene with him and Ant-Man taking the picture. It's great. So yeah, they pitch this idea to the Hulk, and the Hulk is like, you know, it's like, oh, you know, like, this isn't exactly my field, but you know, like, I'm willing to help out, of course. So it's Ant-Man, the Hulk, Black Widow, Thor, War Machine, all them. They're running these experiments to try, you know, send Ant-Man back in time to try and get to work, and they hilariously fail. Like, they basically, like, they send him through the portal once, he comes back out 5 seconds later, he's a very old man. Send him through again, comes back out, he's like a teenager. Send him back again, he's a baby, you know, it's that whole thing. And so they're not able to really get that going until Tony Stark comes later. But back with the Hulk, so, you know, like, again, they do the time heist. They eventually figure out time travel. I'll get to that. I'll get that a little later when I talk about Iron Man. But so Hulk is tasked with going to New York with Captain America, Iron Man, and Ant-Man to retrieve because they figured there's 3 stones in New York at that time. So they figured they're like a 4-man team can handle it. So they're sent back in time, and they're sent back to the moment in Avengers 1 where they're fighting the Chitauri. Like, it's literally like this, like the circle up moment. We get the Avengers theme, and like it's them off to the side now, and they see themselves doing this, and like, you know, like they're like, Hulk, like, you got to blend in just in case anyone sees you. Like, act like the Hulk, you know, like smash some stuff. And he's like, it seems gratuitous, but fine. So, you know, like, he takes his shirt off and like to look more like the Hulk of that time, and he like fake smashes, and he's like, he like picks up a motorcycle, just like barely flings it and whatnot. Pretty funny in my opinion. But so Hulk, we see Hulk is charged with going to get the time stone from well, he doesn't know it. He doesn't know it's the not the Grandmaster, that's fucking Jeff Goldblum, the Sorcerer Supreme, the Eternal One. And he thinks it's Doctor Strange. So like he goes to not Bleecker Street, or it might be Bleecker. Yeah, it's Bleecker. To the Sanctum, and he's looking for Doctor Strange, but he finds the Eternal One, and like they have this conversation. He's like, hey, like, we need the stone to stop Thanos, and she's like, well, you know, like, you're not thinking about the effect it'll have on my reality. It's like, if you take the stone, like she astral projects this it's like a gold beam to represent the timeline. She's like, and if you take the stone out, you create this alternate branch and you fuck my reality. And Hulk's like, well, but what if we take it and then we come back and we put it back at the exact moment we stole it, so it's like it's never gone, like it never happened. And they determined like that would be okay. Which, a slight side note here, it's like, I hate time travel. I hate it when it's in movies, unless you like really just fucking simplify it down. But they didn't really and they knock on it here too. Like there's parts of the movie where they're talking about their time travel, how the timeline works. They bash Back to the Future, and they're literally like, it doesn't work like Back to the Future. Like Back to the Future was bullshit. But like, say what you want about Back to the Future. Like Back to the Future simplified it down. You understand the rules of time travel within that universe. Like they did their best to explain the rules of time travel in this universe, but I still don't understand. Like I still got a bunch of questions about shit they did, like how it affects things. But whatever. So yeah, so the Hulk and the Eternal One have this conversation, and like he tells her that, like, he tells her how they lost the time stone in his time, like in the future, I guess, future / present, where, you know, Doctor Strange just gave it to Thanos, and she's like, wait, what? He just gave it to her? And gave it to him? And he's like, yeah, he just gave it to him. He's like, why would he do that? He's like, I don't know. He's like, he must have thought it was our best way to win. And she realizes that, like, well, if he did it, then he must have been for a reason. He must have foreseen this moment, must have known it was coming, because he's supposed to be like the best of us all. He's the Sorcerer Supreme. So she gives him the stone. That's how Hulk gets the stone. And then later, so like eventually, you know, like time heist works. They get all the stones. Iron Man builds his own gauntlet to house the stones, and it's decided that the Hulk is going to be the one to use it, because like a scan shows that it's mostly gamma radiation. And so Hulk is like it has to be me. Like it's mostly gamma. It's almost like this is what I'm for. Like this is what the Hulk was made for this moment. Like again, it's kind of a time travel mindfuck kind of thing, but in a way it works, you know. So yeah, it's like Hulk puts on the gauntlet, and he snaps, and he brings everyone back. Like it worked. But in doing so, he screws up his arm the way Thanos did when he originally snapped. Because if you remember in Infinity War, like after the snap, like we get a brief glimpse of Thanos' arm, and it's all charred and burnt up and shit. Just because apparently expelling that much power from the Infinity Stones, like, even if you can withstand it, it fucks you up. And so, after that, we really don't see Hulk. Like, for the final third of this movie, we really don't see the Hulk all that much, because the final third of this movie is really just the long fight scene. Which does beg the question to me, like, I wonder where he was this whole time. Because what triggers the big fight is, like they do the snap, and then I'll touch on this more later, but throughout the course of the movie, like, Thanos discovered this plot, and he came forward in time to stop it. You know, because obviously he wants to win. So give me a second here. You know, I'm emerging. So he comes forward in time to, you know, like, to stop it and get the gauntlet for himself. And so right after the snap, like, his ship appears in the sky, and he just blast the Avengers building to hell. And so that's what triggers the big fight. And like Hulk, Hawkeye, Captain America, they all get like buried under rubble, and we see everyone else come out of the rubble, but we don't see the Hulk. Or we might have seen him for a second, because the way a bunch of them get out of the rubble is like the way War Machine and Rocket get out of the rubble particularly is Ant-Man like goes giant, man. Like he goes giant, and he, you know, puts him in the palm of his hand, sets him down, they're okay. So he might have had the Hulk in his hand there. I don't fully remember. But yeah, but like we definitely don't see the Hulk during that fight. Like I get that he only has one arm now. There's not much he can do. But still, like, I think it would have been cool to like see him, you know, like trying to fight one arm and like still savagely killing people, like still owning it. You know, but from what I can remember, like we really don't see the Hulk for the final third of that movie. Like he's pretty absent. Like really, he's just kind of the second. He's right there in the middle, because we don't get too much of him. Like he is like, going to see him is the inciting incident for the second hour of the movie, for the time heist. And so we don't get too much of him. And so now jumping, but overall, I'm okay with the Hulk story, I guess, because I mean, since we've seen the Hulk, like, even okay, and we're back. Actually didn't run out of battery there. The camera overheated, so I let it cool for a bit, and I'm pretty sure we're good now. So yeah, where I left off, I believe I was talking about the Hulk. So yeah, overall, like, I'm happy with how they wrapped up the Hulk. You know, was never my favorite Avenger. Could have been better, could have been worse, but you know, I think it was fine. Hang on, so I'm pulling out of a driveway right now. Moment. Okay, we're good. So yeah, between the three I've talked so far, Hulk, Black Widow, and Hawkeye, I think the Hulk got the best treatment, in my opinion. Because like I said, like, Hawkeye's story in this movie kind of felt forced. I just don't think we got enough Black Widow. I don't think she got to do enough. And then the Hulk, not bad. You know, not bad. Not mad at it. Not in love with it. Could have been better, could have been worse. Okay, so now moving on to the big three, in my opinion. Like, the main focuses of this movie, heroes of this movie anyways. So I'm gonna start with Thor. So Thor, like I said, so if you remember in at the end of Infinity War, he gets Stormbreaker, which is his axe, you know, that he made, that he got made after the events of Thor Ragnarok, where his sister broke his hammer, so he needed a new weapon. Went in Infinity War, went to Peter Dinklage's character, the giant dwarf, made the axe Stormbreaker. Groot's arm is the handle. And in Infinity War, remember, he damn near killed Thanos with it. Like, he appears in Wakanda, Thanos appears, Thor flies up in the air, hurls the axe at Thanos, and embeds it in his chest. And then Thor lands, he grabs, like, Thanos by the back of the head, and he's like shoving the axe, and he's like, I told you I would kill you. And then Thanos is like, you messed up, you should have aimed for the head. And literally right in front of Thor's face, you know, like, snaps. So like, Thor, you know, had the best seat for that. And he might possibly, besides Black Widow, he may feel the most guilt and sadness, because like, he had it, you know, like, he absolutely had it. Like, 3 seconds more and he would have killed Thanos. It'd have been over. But so then Endgame starts. They go up to kill Thanos, and when they initially see him, like, they don't know what Thanos has done. They just find him in his, like, his little farm thing, and they ambush him in his house, and like, excuse me. So like, Bruce Banner and the Hulk are like, bust up through the ground, like, grabs him by the leg, and like, Captain Marvel flies in and she grabs one of his arms, and like, they're all restraining him. But when Thor comes in, Thor immediately cuts off his arm that has the gauntlet on it. And so they're restraining Thanos, and like, the arm is on the ground. Like, you flip the arm over and you see, like, the stones are gone. So like, what happened to the stones? Excuse me. Like, what happened to the stones? And that's where Thanos tells him, I used the stones to destroy the stones. You know, like, so you could never undo what I did. I won. I'm inevitable. Yada, yada, yada. And so in anger, Thor cuts off his head. And, you know, like, they turn to him and they go like, what did you do? And Thor's like, I went for the head this time. And then so flash forward, so in Thor's flash forward 5 years, it's the Hulk and Ant-Man, I think it's the Hulk and Ant-Man who go to find Thor on Earth, right? Because if Asgard was destroyed, so all Asgardians live on Earth now. And I don't know where exactly they are in the world, but like, the place where they are, like, they've called it New Asgard. Like, literally, as the Hulk and, again, I believe it's Ant-Man, are pulling, like, they're hitching a ride in the back of some guy's old truck to get there, you pass signs that you are now entering New Asgard. So like they've clearly been given and or taken over this random spot in the world where like all the people live now. And we get to see Valkyrie, and Valkyrie has this cool line with the Hulk, because you know like in Ragnarok, like Hulk and Valkyrie were good friends, and so like Hulk goes to Sarah and she's like, I liked you better as the Hulk. Like this in between thing, nah, not so much. It's pretty funny. But so anyway, so we go to find and like she warns them in advance, like, hey, we're here to find Thor, and like, where is he? They're like, well, he's kind of in and out, you know, like, but even if you find him, like, not gonna be what you like. And like she motions over to this, she's working on the docks, like, you know, they're fishing, and she motions over to this corner of the docks where there are just all these empty barrels and crates of beer, and like, so alluding that Thor has taken up drinking. Well, I guess drinking more, because we've seen him drink before, but like, you know, like it's gotten bad is what she's implying. And so they go to where, like, they go to Thor's house, and we find Korg and Meek from Ragnarok, love them by the way, and they're playing Fortnite. And then Thor stumbles in, not only drunk, not only has the hair grown back and he's got a beard, but he is just fat. Like, just biggest beer pot belly imaginable. And they're like, everyone else sees him, they're just like, whoa, man. And like, Thor is completely delusional. Like, he's completely full of himself. Like, you can tell, like, this guy is hurting. Like, immediately speaking to him, you can tell this guy is hurting. But, you know, like, he's just trying, he's like, of course I'm fine, I'm great, I've moved past it, it's over. And he's like, Thanos is like, I killed that guy. And at first they're even like, we don't say his name in here, like, don't ever speak his name. But he's like, but why would I care? I killed that guy. And so like, they're trying to tell him, like, Thor, like, we know you're hurting, we know this is hard, but like, we have a chance to fix it, we have a chance to save everyone. And like, he's just completely unmotivated. Like, he doesn't want to do it. Like, he's completely lost the will to fight anymore. And cheers. And we see, like, he grabs another beer bottle, and he's got Stormbreaker just like sitting, leaning against the wall, and he just like uses it as a bottle opener to like, to show, like, really, like, I don't care anymore. Like, that's behind me. I've moved on, sort of. But, you know, like, he's just an absolute wreck, and he's just there drinking and eating pizza with Korg and Meek and playing Fortnite. And literally, like, the way they get him on there, they get him on the ship. Oh, it's Rocket. It's Rocket. It's Hulk and Rocket went to go get him. Not Hulk and Ant-Man, Hulk and Rocket, because I'm remembering the scene now. So, like, they're trying to appeal to Thor, and he's just not having. And then Rocket says to him, you know, there's beer on the ship. And like, Thor has finished his beer, he's like, what kind? And like, that gets him. So like, that's how they bring Thor back into this. And so they bring Thor back, and in the time, and like, you know, again, playing the time heist, and Thor lets everyone know where the ether is. Like, before Thanos got it, because you remember, the ether is introduced in Thor 2, Thor the Dark World, when his then girlfriend at the time, Jane Foster, played by Natalie Portman, you know, like, she accidentally gets herself infected with it, and Thor brings her to Asgard to have, like, Asgardian medics extracted from her. And so Thor lets me know, like, hey, you know, like, if we go back to Asgard at this time, we can grab the ether as soon as they pull it from Jane. And so it's Thor and Rocket who are tasked to go to Asgard and get that. But like, when Thor gets there, like, even before that, even in explaining this to the rest of the Avengers, like, hey, this is where the stone is and whatnot, like, he's a complete wreck. Like, he's stumbling through his story, like, he's just kind of like me doing this. He's going off on tangents, he's like, oh, but you know, like, oh, this is that other thing, but that was, of course, we were dating at the time we were happy, but the break was completely mutual, it's fine, ha ha ha, that kind of thing. And so, but anyway, so like, him and Rocket get to go back in time, they get to Asgard, and Thor is just absolutely terrified to go to go do this. Like they're in the halls of the palace. Like we know where Jane is. Like Rocket's like inching his way towards there. Like they do that thing like where they zoom in on Rocket a little bit, where Rocket's talking to Thor. But then of course like Rocket looks back over his shoulder and Thor's gone. He's running the other way. Like he's just like, oh, I'm going to get another drink, you know, that kind of thing. And Rocket's like trying to tell him to man up and whatnot. Yada yada yada. But then we see the door to Jane's room open, and it's Thor's mom who comes back, who she dies in that movie. She dies in Thor: The Dark World. And so he sees his mom, and then he kind of like stalks his mom for a bit. Because, you know, like he misses his mom very much, and he hasn't seen her in so long. So, you know, like he wants to talk to her, but again, he's afraid to. But so like he's kind of like stalking his mom, but then his mom, boom, surprises him. Because his mom, like his mom is the one who like trained Loki, like taught him her magic. And like she even says in the line, she's like, boy, I was raised by witches, like you can't fool me. Because then too, like, so Thor, I glossed over this, like Thor looks like, and then they make a joke about it too, Thor looks like the Big Lebowski. Like just like the beard, the hair, he's dressed in like a ratty sweatshirt, like fingerless tattered gloves and tattered sweatpants and whatnot. It's like he looks like a wreck, like just a fat drunken wreck. And that's how he is on Asgard. Like he didn't put like any of his Asgardian gear back on or anything. He went like that to Asgard. And so when his mom catches him, like he tries to play it off, like he's like, oh no, it's me, like and his mom like instantly does like, you're not from this time, like you're from the future, like you're a different version of my son. And like he totally caves her. She's like, you're right, I'm totally from the future. Like he says those exact words. And so like his mom is the one who snaps him out of it. Like his mom helps him find his courage. She tells him this line, like, well, maybe it's time you stop being who you're supposed to be and be who you are. Because, you know, like Thor, and I believe they talk about like Thor is the strongest Avenger, you know, like he was the only one who was able to do any real damage to Thanos. And like he failed that. Like he's supposed to be the one, the hero to save the day and all that. But like he feels like he failed about that, and that's how he fell into that depression. But his mom is, you know, like I said, his mom getting like, stop being you're supposed to be, start being who you are. And it's like he finds his courage there, and Rocket, it's like in the meantime Rocket is gone. He's stolen the ether from Jane, but now the guards are coming, so like they gotta run. But like before they run, Thor's like, wait, one more thing. And he puts the arm out. And boom, he gets the hammer back. Because like he's traveled to the past where the hammer still exists, and he gets the hammer back, and like he gets back, he's like, oh yes, like I'm still worthy. Like it's like, cool, you got it, let's go. So him and Rocket return to the present, and you know, like again, Tony Stark glove, snap thing, yada yada yada. And then so it's, I guess I gotta talk about this at some point, so I'll just insert it here now. By the way, I can see my camera battery is dying, so if I cut out mid-speech here, I'll just pick it up tomorrow. Because like I said, this was gonna be a multiple part video, 2, possibly even 3. But anyways, so I'll talk about Nebula now. So yeah, so Nebula is, throughout this whole movie, she is a very key plot device, if you will. Because in the opening, she is the one who tells them where Thanos is, basically. Like, because they're looking for Thanos to get the gauntlet, to get it back, and she says, all the years I was with my father, he you know, beat me, talked about the stones, all that, but every time he said, like, after he accomplished his goal, he would talk about the garden, like where he would go to when he was done, the garden. And so based off of that and what they know about the gauntlet, like Rocket's able to track it, you know, to the garden, which is a little farm thing where they find him. And, you know, again, Thor cuts off his head. And, like, even for a moment there, Nebula has a little bit of, like, sympathy for Thanos. It's kind of like, even though he absolutely tortured and whatnot, it's kind of like Stockholm Syndrome, where, like, he was her adoptive father. It's like, after Thor cuts out, like, she, like, gently closes his eyes, you know? And, like, she's in a little bit of shock there for a moment. But so Nebula goes back in time. Like, during the timelines, Nebula goes to Warg, I think it is, or Rogue. I can't remember the name of the planet, but she goes to get the Power Stone. But while she's on that planet, Because of what / who Nebula is, like she has all these cybernetic parts. So like they link up, like her past self links up with her present self. So her present self, who is trying to defeat Thanos, is now linked to her past self, who is still loyal to Thanos. And so she gets these visions, and because of her cybernetic brain, like she's able to project her memories. So past Nebula is now projecting all the stuff that present Nebula knows to Thanos. And that's how Thanos gets wise of the plan. Like he sees all this and he pieces it together. He's like, no, he's like, these are visions of what's going to come. He's like, this is a different version of you. Like you haven't betrayed me yet, but apparently you will. You know, it's like, so I should just kill you now. But she convinced, like, no, I'm still loyal to you right now. Let me go prove it. So they go to that planet. Again, I can't remember the name of it. They go to that planet, and past Nebula kidnaps present Nebula and brings her to Thanos. And they torture her, and they get, you know, like they probe her memory and whatnot, and they get the plan out of her. And so Thanos decides to switch them out. Like they change clothes, like she makes a couple modifications, and she goes back to the present with War Machine. It was her and War Machine were tasked with getting the Power Stone. And then so now jumping back to the Thor, to my Thor story. So yeah, so Thor has retrieved his stone. You know, they add it to the gauntlet and whatnot, yada yada yada. Hulk snaps, brings everything back. But while all that was going on, like while everyone else was gathered around, like Hulk, like snapping for the gauntlet, evil past Nebula sneaks off to the time machine, and she opens it up for Thanos, like past Thanos, to come in and, you know, get the gauntlet. Because again, through present / good Nebula's memories, they've learned, like, hey, all the stones are gathered right here. We just take them right then and there when they're about to use them. So she opens up the portal, and Thanos' army and his big ass ship, you know, like they come through, and that's how Thanos like ends up at the Avengers home base, and he bombs the shit out of it. So that goes down, and then that's how the big ending fight scene is triggered. Like that's how Thanos gets there for that. And so we see, like, again, like it's just pure chaos after that. But then we see the first people to reach Thanos, like who pull themselves to the rubble and reach Thanos, are Captain America, Iron Man, and Thor. And Thor's there holding, like he's leaning on Stormbreaker, just watching Thanos. Like Thanos is just sitting there, like he hasn't done anything. And when Cap and Iron Man come in and find Thor, like Thor's just staying there looking at Thanos. Thanos like, what has he done? And they're like, nothing. He hasn't even moved, you know? Like he's just like, he's waiting for something. And so they realize, like, he doesn't have the gauntlet yet. So like this is our best chance to beat Thanos. Like we know he's strong as hell and whatnot, but at this moment he doesn't have the gauntlet, so he's not totally all powerful. We can fight him and beat him here. So you get this cool ass sequence of Cap, Thor, and Iron Man walking down to, you know, to meet Thanos. And now Thor has his axe and he's powered up and he's back in his Asgardian gear, you know, like his normal battle armor. He's still fat though, which is a double-edged sword for me in this movie. Because yes, it was absolutely hilarious, like the way they did it. I love how they hit it in all the trailers. Like they altered footage of Chris Hemsworth in the trailers, like, you know, to hide the fact that he would be fat Thor, but he's still fat. So like you have this badass moment of like him, Iron Man, and Captain America like walking to Thanos, but like he's still fat. So it's just it's like you can't help but chuckle every time you look at him. At least I can. Oh, excuse me. So then, hang on. So then, like, they come and they meet Thanos, and they talk to him, like, you know, exchange a few words with him, and you're like, so like, it's go time. Like, Cap straps on the shield, Iron Man lowers the helmet, Thor raises the axe, and then he calls Mjolnir, he calls the hammer. Thor is dual wielding. It's so badass for a split second, because again, for me, Like, he does, like, oh my God, Thor's got both. He's got Mjolnir and Stormbreaker. He's still fat. Like, that's just how it went for me. Like, the fat thing, I couldn't get over it. Like, as badass as he was and looked throughout all this, like, he was still fat. I just couldn't help it. But yeah, oh man. So then the fight happens. I'll talk about all that later once we get there. But yeah, Thor's arc, I loved his. Like, obviously, like, Kevin Feige said from the beginning, like, this is gonna focus more on the original Avengers. But like, even then, you knew that Thor, Cap, and Iron Man were gonna even then be the main focus of those 6, and they were. Like, I saw something online where, like, it broke the screen time down for all of them, and they were the 3 leads. Like, no one had more screen time than them 3. So yeah, like, Thor, I loved his story. I loved the whole fat thing. Like, it worked. I get it. You know, like, he fell into this depression. He failed as a warrior, you know, all that. So it made sense that he was fat and like a slob and all that. Like I said, it was just a double-edged sword. It was kind of distracting. So like, when he had that whole touching moment with his mom and the badass moment of him dual wielding Stormbreaker and Mjolnir, like, I couldn't help but laugh. It's like, aw, yeah, because he's fat. But still, like, his general story, absolutely loved it. They killed it with him. He was badass in the final fight, which again I'll talk about a little later as we get to that. But so yeah, well, I'm looking at my camera battery now. I feel like this is about to die in a minute, so I'm actually gonna cut here. So yeah, the next time you see me, I will be wearing something different because it'll be an entirely different day, but I will continue this. So yeah, I've now covered Black Widow, Hawkeye, the Hulk, and Thor. When we get back, I'll talk about Thanos, Captain America, and Iron Man. So there'll be like I said, there'll be a cut here, and you'll see me wearing new gear. But you know what? In the spirit of the event, in the spirit of the Avengers, here you go.